Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and share my own asexual life journey in order to help you and yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now, post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content at all, if you find it useful, helpful, insightful, enlightening, entertaining, or you just like, yeah, why not give it a thumbs up and give some like love to asexuality? Please do so by hitting the great big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, like I said, subscribe down below, and don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notified when I go live. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. I'm also the founder of asexualized.com and the founder of Asexualized Academy. Hi Ray, lovely to see you. Thanks for the thumbs up. My throat's been, my sore today. My voice has been going a bit, so I'm going to make this quite a brief video. I usually say that though. Oh, thanks for the other thumbs up. And yeah, so what I wanted to talk to you about today was one of the most hilarious text conversations in Messenger I've ever had, I think, with a foreign sexual guy. It was hilarious because it just doesn't make any sense, half of it. And also I want to discuss the fact that sexuals just don't take no for an answer. And I'm like, it's this, they just like, I'm not saying all sexuals are like this, but some of them are just completely ignorant. They just don't listen. They don't read the posts, as you know, in the group. And they just literally act like they're completely ignorant. So this was a message, which was the only guy that I didn't get rid of when I was going through those people who requested friendship for me in the previous video. And this guy is from Pakistan. I said he looked Indian though. So I did say hi to him. So I thought I'll say hi and see how the conversation goes. So this is why it went, how are you? Are you? So I put hi. And then it repeated it again. How are you? And I put great, thanks. And then he put dove the any. Like, what the hell is dove the any? I mean, obviously dove is a soap, but what the heck the rest of it is, I don't know, because I don't speak different language like that. And then he put, where are you from? What are you doing? This is like at 9:53 this morning. And at 10:22, he messaged me again, hi. And so I replied, UK. It's like, first of all, if someone's messaging you, why the heck aren't they looking on your profile and find out where you live anyway? If they're that interested in you, they would look at which country you're from, right? So it always amazes me how many people say, where do you live? I had someone who was supposed to be in the UK the other day say, where do you live? It's like, it says where I live in the city on my Facebook profile. Can't you read? Do you know what I mean? If I just think they go through random girls and they just friend anyone and don't even read their profiles. Seriously, it's just a nightmare. And then I put UK. I'm looking for a guy in the UK for relationship, not abroad. And I see you live abroad, so wouldn't be suitable for me. I don't like sex. I don't like marriage, and I don't want kids. Right? So that should be the end of it. But then sexuals, I'm not saying every sexual's like this, but a lot of sexuals, they just don't take no for an answer. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell them the same thing, they completely ignore it. But this text message don't even make sense, right? Just listen to this. I couldn't do nothing but laugh, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was one of the most hilarious messages I've ever had because it makes no sense, right? The last bit doesn't make sense, right? So first of all, they go, why are you not like children? Which really annoys me because it's obviously, if I know in my own mind, I don't need someone questioning why I don't want kids. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, why do you not like children and marriage is the main reason, and why you do not like a man from the bar. I just love to do the nothing. Seriously. This is what this person said. I just love to do the nothing. I have no idea what the heck this person's talking about. So I'm going to cover up their picture. But just look at the stuff they're coming out with. Seriously. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to cover up their picture, right? But I don't know if I'm kind of covering it up or not. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's like I just love to do. Oh, probably not. I mean, but you know, it's like I just love to do to nothing. It's like, what the heck does that mean? It's like I don't think you can really see them because they're kind of blur anyway on there. They're so small. So it's like, what the heck does that mean? Like, what does it mean? And why you do not like a man from the bar? What the heck is he talking about? And I just love to do the nothing. I had no idea what he's talking about. And I went to see my parents and my furry kid daughter, guinea pig Angel, today. And I was just like laughing so much, like with my mum. I'm like, what the heck does this mean? Can you explain to me what this means? Because I have no idea. And then the guy, right, turns around and goes, do you believe in love? Right? It's like such a corny chat up line. Like they're trying to then grab the emotions of me, right? Oh, hi, Heather. Send him nonsense sentences, laugh out loud. Alien guy, laugh out loud. Yeah. Maybe I should send him nonsense sentences back. I did put a question. Oh, yeah, that's what I did. I put question mark. After he put, I just love to do nothing, I put question mark because I'm like, what the heck's that? And then he said, do you believe in love? And I put, love is not sex. Love is not marriage. Love is not having children. All are separate, which is what sexuals don't seem to get. They completely got no attachment to each other, those things. They can have, but they don't have to have. They are different, separate things that can, some people class us together, some people don't. I don't need to have sex to show I love someone. No one has to no one has to have sex with me to show they love me. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to have marriage to prove I love someone. I have to have a piece of paper, legal documentation saying that. If I love the person, I love the person. And I don't have to have children to prove I love someone. Children is just keeping the species going. There's enough people doing that as it is. They don't need me. And I'd rather leave a lasting legacy of writing and other stuff behind than having more kids when loads of other people are having more kids. Like I was going to say everyone, but not everyone, the majority of them. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, it's just ridiculous. You know, it's the things I mentioned. And this is what is even more hilarious. What is message back this? I mean, well, in a way, it's not as hilarious, but it's even either funny. He's going, look, this guy's going, why not? Everything happens in Lahore. It has love and marriage and children too. I mean, what have I just said that I do not want? I do not want sex. I do not want marriage. And I do not want children. And I've said they are not love and all are separate. Yet he's completely ignoring me and saying, why not everything happens in Lahore? It has love and marriage and children too. Well, exactly why I don't want to come over there, because I don't want any of that. I put that. Wrote, I don't want that. I love living on my own in the UK. Tell me why I don't like having a... This is so funny, because he can't even speak properly. He's like, tell me why I don't like having a baby and getting married. Why do you dislike it? So, first of all, he's put it like it's coming from him. Tell me why I don't like having a baby and getting married. And I feel like saying, well, obviously... Why don't you like having a baby and getting married then? But clearly you do. And he's like, why do you dislike it? So I put, I don't want it or like it. I hate sex and I hate marriage and don't want kids. I don't believe in it. Not for me. Find someone else. And it is, well, you seem to like me anyway. You are talking about. Meaning I'm still talking to him, I guess. So I put, well, you were the one who messaged me first from the asexual singles. But now... Oh, sorry, I put asexual. Oh my God, I should have put sexual singles. I put asexual singles, which is wrong. Sorry, he's not from asexuals. I meant UK, he's from UK singles, which is the sexual singles. I put asexual singles by accident. Oh, well, he didn't even notice that. Never mind. I'm so used to talking about asexual. This guy's not asexual. I met him in the UK singles group, but because I'm so used to talking about asexuality and I have it in my text prediction, I put the wrong thing. Anyway, I meant to put UK singles, but now I know you didn't read my post, so no good. I made it clear I was looking for a guy in the UK with no sex, no marriage, no kids. I doubt he'd even know I got it wrong because he can't even speak to me properly. And then he's just put, just friendship, cannot tell. What the hell does that mean? You also like the friendship that you just like. You give me your WhatsApp number. I hate it. You know, nearly every guy that's sexual ask me for my WhatsApp number, or should I say nearly pretty much every time a guy asks me for my WhatsApp number, it's because they're sexual. Like, you know, some of them, it's the first thing they do. It's like, oh, no problem, we can talk on WhatsApp. What's your WhatsApp number? Like, really quickly. And I put no on WhatsApp and got friends, thanks. It started to sound like him. Instead of putting not on WhatsApp and got friends, thanks, I put no on WhatsApp and got friends, thanks. And then he put, if you want, you have your religion, so give it or not. I mean, what the hell does that mean? Seriously, I have no idea. And I just didn't speak to him after that. I mean, I can block this guy. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. But it's like, you know, why don't sexuals just listen? I mean, I just couldn't do nothing but laugh earlier when it says, I want to do to nothing. Or what the hell is I want to do to nothing? And why do you not like a man from the bar? It just makes me laugh. I could have just cracked up. I thought, oh, how pathetic, you know? Like, the guy isn't listening. He isn't paying attention to what I'm saying. He's just completely ignoring me. And some sexuals do that. It's like you speak to them. I'm not saying all sexuals are like this because some are very respectful, but you speak to them and then it's like they've completely ignored you. It's like you've never said it. It's like the conversation carries on as though you never said it, and it's what you want, because basically the way he's talking is the three things I don't want is what I should want and do want. Well, I don't. Do you know what I mean? And so, you know, I have had some other conversations which have been gobbledygook, like some of that. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, are you really the person on your profile? Because on your profile, you don't seem like you're illiterate. Do you know what I mean? I just block them and laugh out loud. Yeah, I block a lot of them as well, Ray. I'm like, you're going to block him. But it's just like, you know what I mean? I thought, let's have a conversation and see how it goes. And it's like, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, I don't want. I think that's why I partly lost my voice nearly, because I was just couldn't. I burst out laughing because when I read it out. I'm like, this guy's gotta be like, you know, I don't know, on planet whatever. I just don't know. But some of them, I think they don't talk like their profiles, so I think they're probably like fake profiles. Some of them, but he's got a lot of pictures on his and friends and stuff, so it's likely that he is who he is. Because, you know, if they're fake, they don't usually put all their friends and have a history and stuff like that and have lots of pictures. So, but yeah, it's clearly, if he starts messaging me again, I'm gonna have to block him. But I just, like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what the heck is this language? It literally is, like Heather says, it's like an alien. And you're like, oh my goodness me. What plane is this guy from? Exact planet. Oh, planet. Yeah, what planet is the guy from? Exactly. It's like, I feel like as asexuals, we're kind of like aliens a bit, because we're so different to everyone else. But when I read messages from guys like him, I'm just like, my God, I think, well, me and other asexuals, like, we're the sanest, and obviously Heather as well, who's not asexual, but very supportive and a similar mindset, which is great. You know, where it comes to sex, you know, not just jumping in as more to life than sex. You know, it's just like, I just think we're the same ones, and these other people are the ones that are on another frigging planet. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, geez, it's just like, I just couldn't enough of a laugh. I'm thinking, is this best you can come up with? A load of gobbledygook. Some good news, I found the dogs all homes that were in my house, just Tundra and Molly now. Oh, Tundra and Molly are your own ones that you keep, aren't they? I know Tundra is for definite. She said Tundra's he's the one they keep. That's the question you should ask him. Laugh out loud. What is yeah, are you on another planet? Like planet whatever, like gobbledygook. Seriously, he can't even speak English. How does he ever expect to get an English British woman if he can't even speak to them? Oh, Molly, you're looking after. Right, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I'm really pleased for you, Ray. Well done. You're amazing. Congratulations. Ray's an amazing dog rescuer. So yeah, my mum watches. When I was at my parents' night, we had the Battersea Dogs Home on, which was about you know, For the Love of Dogs program. My mum loves watching that, so we're watching that amongst other things. I don't usually watch TV, but when I'm over at my parents, I do. So yeah, and like sexuals, they just don't seem to take no for an answer, like some of them. It's like you speak to them and it's like, what, the other day when I had the bike guy, I call him, this is what I call him to my best friend now when I'm talking about this guy on his bike, because he literally accidentally on purpose comes past my home he lives near me, and he comes past my home, and you've put me off now, Heather. Sorry, I got distracted by. I want to know his answer. What if I haven't messaged him I haven't messaged him back because they love attention. These guys. You want me to message him and say, what planet are you from? I could do that, but I just don't like to encourage them. But you know what I mean? Because they love attention. You don't pay them any attention. Eventually, if they carry on, you just block them. That's what I usually do. So what was I saying apart from this guy being on another planet? We ended up talking about dogs, and I said Ray does marvelous work with dogs. Yeah, so we're talking about sexuals. So some sexuals, like the guy on the bike, I call him Bike Guy now, right? I can't even remember his name. He once did tell me. And it's like the other day when he started talking to me, I found out he had a 21-year-old daughter. And he started saying, have you got kids? I'm like, no, I don't want them. He goes, oh, it's not too late. I said, no, I don't want them. And he said, but it's not too late. I said, I don't want them. And you can understand why. And I'm like, because I'm a busy, it's like I've told him I'm asexual and I don't want sex, right? So if I told him I'm asexual, I don't want sex, in order to have children, there's a little thing involved called sex usually, unless you have other means. I know some asexuals do, but that's not what he was on about, because this guy is not asexual. And so it's kind of like, if I've said I'm asexual and I don't like sex, he doesn't even think logically that I'm not going to want children, because it's programmed into him as a heterosexual that people want sex, marriage and kids for some weird reason. And, so when I said I don't want kids, and he was like, 3 times, I think he said to me, it's like, he's adamant I can have them. It's not too late. It's like, I don't want them. I haven't want them. I said to him, in the end, I said to him, I'm a business girl. I'm up till 3 a.m. working and stuff. I do my own business stuff. I live this type of different lifestyle. It's not me doing that type of thing. And he's like, oh, I see. Well, I can understand that if you're into business and like have that type of lifestyle. I'm gonna say exactly. But you know what I mean? I've never wanted children since I'm 15 years old. Like today, there was it was a soap opera on in the UK called Emmerdale. My parents love watching it. And Chaz has had this baby and she's meant to be breastfeeding. And I find that repulsive. And my mum's going, it's so natural. And I just like, ugh. Because I'm not interested. I get on well with children. Like if you put children with me, they would feel comfortable, calm around me. I get on really well with them, but I get on with them like little mini adults in their own right. And babies are really not my thing, I mean, I can, like I worked near a nursery department in my last job for 5 years, last full-time paid job. I worked opposite a nursery. It took me, was it 2.5 years to stop feeling pregnancy repulsed? Because I can't actually stand a woman being pregnant, but I'm kind of over being repulsed by it now, because I've like had 2.5 years to like desensitize myself to it. So but that was difficult because I had to, pregnant women in front of me all the time. But I don't find breastfeeding all that lot natural. I don't find childbirth natural. I find it all yucky. And in this book, Asexual Perspectives book, there's other people that feel the same way as me. And that's what's so good about this book, because you're like, oh, wow, I'm not just the only one that feels this way. And one person's like saying, oh, hi, Sam, nice to see you. One person's saying, oh, that they don't feel there's anything natural about childbirth at all, like pushing something that's bigger than the birth canal, basically, because you've got to push it out through a birth canal out. She doesn't see how there's any pleasure, anything nice about doing that, anything good about it. It's just a lot of pain and, like, it's just horrible. And, I totally agree with this person. I know there's some asexuals that do have kids, so no offense to you, but I'm just saying, that why do sexuals, when you say you don't want something, they just don't listen. If you say you don't want children, you don't want children. If you say you don't want marriage, you don't want marriage. If you say you don't want sex, you don't want sex. It's simple as. They either should accept it as is, or they should just move on. Do you know what I mean? It's like they completely, oh, thanks for all the thumbs up, by the way. It's like they completely ignore what you're saying. Like if you say you don't want sex, they seem to think, especially in these sexual groups, they seem to think you're just a good girl who's not like the other women trying to push their boobs and get sex immediately, but they don't think that's something like a long-term life thing. They have it in their head that you're just saying, oh, I don't want sex, as in, oh, you know, I don't want a guy to just come on to me and have sex and that be it. That's what they take that as lots of the time. They don't take it as categorically, I never want sex, even though I say I never want sex. They just don't get it in their brain. It's like, to them, it's like, oh, well, the girl, or whoever it is that says it, but in this case it's me, the girl must just mean, you know, like she doesn't want sex because she's not like all these women that just sleep around. Do you know what I mean? And so you know, that I think that's partly why they just ignore it, because they can't get it in their brain. Obviously they don't listen to us as well because they don't believe it. They don't, and they can't, some of them, they just can't comprehend it. They're like, how can a person not want sex? It's natural, which is not natural to everyone. Asexuals is not natural to. You know, if it was natural to us, we wouldn't be asexual, would we? But just like to lots of heterosexuals, sex is natural. Having sex is not natural to us. Do you know what I mean? Wherever there's light, there's dark. Wherever there's good, there's bad. Do you know what I mean? There's always polarity. There's always like the opposite. Do you know what I mean? There's always a different side of the coin, like even a coin, you know, heads and tails. There's always another side. So whatever there's people that enjoy sex, love it and like it, there's equally going to be people who don't like it, don't want it, don't need it. You know, and yes, years ago I did used to be into marriage, but I'm not anymore. I don't like it. I think it's very trapping. I'm not, you know, really religious anyway. I do have some religious element to me, but I'm not, you know, I'm not strictly religious. I also know that if you get with the person and it doesn't work out, it's lengthy divorce proceedings, you know, for 2 years, whatever. It's horrible. You know, and of course, if I was with someone, I'd want it to last forever if it was the right person, I thought it was the right person. But things change. People change. Situations change. Things go on that you can't foresee. And then if you're stuck married to someone, you know, it's like, what happens then if you have to split up? I might sound a bit morbid or whatever, but, you know, at least if you don't get married, you haven't got all that stuff to worry about, that legal rubbish to worry about. You know, it's like you just split. You don't have to faff around with signing contracts or someone going away for months. I've seen people in my old job where, you know, they've had to leave their husbands because in a case of abuse a lot of the time, and the husbands they can't even get hold of. They've disappeared, done a disappearing act, so they don't even sign the divorce papers, and it goes on for years. Court cases, money, stress, worry. And yeah, in an ideal world, we'd get the right person for us, and it would never happen like that. But I know from my experience that all too well it can happen, that people can change. Some people years later. I mean, I mentioned before, I did a pattern changing course to look for patterns of abusive relationships, and I met women there, and there was one woman, I think she was married, and it was 2 or 3 years into the relationship before he started becoming abusive. For like at least a couple of years he wasn't abusive, and then all of a sudden he turned. So you just don't know. You just don't know, unfortunately. And it's really sad to say that, but it's true. And I don't want all that marriage stuff, you know, and I don't like the role of women in marriage. You know, it's like housewife, you know, cook, clean, be my servant, basically, for a guy. And I don't appreciate that, and I don't like it. And yeah, you could say, well, you do your own vows or whatever, but it still remains true to this day that it is still that sort of thing where the woman's subservient to the man. I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't want it. And I got this thing where I can't even wear rings very often because I feel like I'm tied down. You know what I mean? So there's obviously something in my brain that just doesn't want to be tied down to a contract, doesn't want to be tied down in that way. You know, I can't even wear a ring all the time. It just freaks me out. I'm just like, I don't want it on me. I don't mind wearing it occasionally, but you'll notice I don't usually wear rings. But I've got one ring that I bought myself, which is like married to myself. But it's a beautiful ring, and I do wear it occasionally when I go out, but not very often because I don't like it on my hands. You know, I mean, I get dermatitis on my hands anyway, which I guess doesn't help. But you know, I don't like it. But it's like, just because people are different, you know, I like marriage from a romance point of view. Like, oh, walk down with the guy of my dreams and everything will be wonderful forever. Do you know what I mean? Like all that airy fairy Disney type of marriage stuff, which is, marriage is very different to that. You know, a relationship is very different to that ongoing. I think the best relationships with me, because I have a Disney relationship every day of the year, which is great. I just carry on being single because it's much more fun. But you know, it's just like, you know, I just don't think marriage is for me, you know. And like I said, the romantic side of me, sometimes it does flare up and it's like, oh, but Sandra, you know, the guy of your dreams, when you rest of life, he's really the guy of your dreams, he's really nice to you, best friends, soulmates, oh, it's going to be wonderful. You know, I do still have that because that's type of how I've been grown up more, and through the years what I've, you know, what I used to believe, that hasn't 100% gone. I still have this little tiny bit in me sometimes that pops up and says that, but you know, overall the majority of me doesn't want it. There's only this little tiny bit, the big romantic in me, that, you know, like happy ever after type thing, you know. But I know myself, and I know that I can't even have jewelry and wear rings, you know. It just freaks me out. And I think if you're married, you should be wearing a ring, really. I don't like it when people are married and they don't wear rings. It's kind of like, well, you look like single. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit weird, but I know you don't have to wear rings. So, you know, there's always that option. Obviously, if you get dermatitis on your hands, it's not exactly good for it anyway. But yeah, and I just think with sexuals, you know, they really need to accept, you know, if you said don't want marriage, don't want kids, don't want sex, they just need to accept it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than question it or go against it or tell you something you're not, or tell you some other stuff. And the reason why they are like this a lot of the time is some of them don't believe you, they don't understand it, they're uncomfortable with it, they've never heard of the term before, they can't get it in their head. And others, they just want to be ignorant and they want to grind you down, they want to put you down, they want to kind of like put their own ideas and thoughts as if they were your own and like speak for you. Do you know what I mean? And that's the type of person you don't want to be in a relationship with anyway, you know, if it's a relationship and dating scenario, which, you know, it is when I'm talking about it in these cases. You know, you just don't want to be getting someone like that who's overriding what you're saying and not listening to a word you say, because in a relationship, as you know, it's about open, honest communication backwards and forwards. You know, I mean, the person might, you know, like if a person's actually speaking to me nicely and saying, why you don't you want kids, it does annoy me a bit, because it's like, well, why should I want kids just because I'm female and everyone has them? Why should I want kids? You know, I even said that to someone once. It was someone in person. They said to me, oh, why don't you want kids? I'm like, why would I want kids? And they're like, oh, do you know what I mean? It's like, kind of turn it back. It's like, why would I want them? Do you know what I mean? Because they think that just because you're a woman, you automatically want kids because it's natural and all this lot. It's not naturals to me, you know. And I just know that some other asexuals do feel like me. Not all asexual, but some others do. They don't think it's natural either. There's nothing natural about, you know, as someone says in my book, basically pushing something out of a small gap and squeezing it open like a clamp and like pushing it out with a birth guide that hurts. It's just, oh, I hate all types of pain. I don't want that. You know, I worked out years ago, if I'd ever wanted kids, I would adopt. I wouldn't have my own biologically, because there's loads of kids out there that need homes, that need love and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? That you can go and pick one and make them feel all special and stuff, you know, if I was going to do that type of thing. But I decided at 15 I don't want to do that even. I'm not into children, you know. You know, and obviously, you know, if I wanted kids or was happy to have kids, then, you know, that opens up more areas for asexual relationship. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, if you know what I mean, because I'm not that type of person that wants to be a mother to a kid. I just don't. I couldn't do that. You know, if I ever was with a guy who happened to have a kid, I would have to be like, depending on the age of the kid, I would have to be like a sister to the kid or something. I couldn't be like, so it's like the bike guy, I call him bike guy, Sam knows who I'm talking about. The guy comes past my home on his bike and I found out he's got a 21-year-old daughter. I mean, I don't want kids. I was thinking to myself, you know, like my head, because I'm a hyper romantic and my head's always on a what if person. I'm like, well, if I was ever with this guy, which I can't see me ever being with, because he's a guy that asks you out on a date and never even takes your number, which is very useful, isn't it? Then, which I think it's because I don't want sex and I've made it clear I'm definitely not having sex. Then it's like, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. What was I saying? My mind's going a bit tonight because I've had a busy day, being up early. What was I going to say? That yeah, so I thought if he's got this 21-year-old daughter, hypothetically, if I was ever in a relationship, I couldn't be a mother to her. I'd have to be like a sister to her, and I'd probably be saying, let's go out together clubbing and we can see some foreign guys, because he told me that his daughter likes foreign guys too. So I kind of thought like, oh, okay, introduce me, we can go out together then, and we can look at younger guys, because the guy, bike guy, he's like, he must be 45 plus and like older than me, you know? And so, yeah, I'm kind of thinking that I was more thinking like when he said, "Oh, my daughters," because I said to him honestly that I younger foreign guys usually, and he said, "Oh, my daughter likes them as well." But you have to be so careful because she got like, there was a South African guy she liked, and he was trying to like basically con her. I said, "Yeah, I do understand a lot of them want visas," and then I just block them if they start talking about marriage and stuff like that. He goes, "Oh, at least you know, you've got like your head screwed on. You understand you're not going to stand for that type of guy." I said, "No, I'm not." So, but when he said that, I'm thinking, I've never wanted kids. I've never wanted to be with anyone that's ever had children. But I was thinking, just suppose hypothetically you ever got with this guy, which is never going to happen in a million years. But just hypothetically, I would like be more like a sister and want to go out with her to to be with younger foreign guys. Do you know what I mean? I thought, yeah, okay, because to me, I'm like the same age as her, even though in birth certificate age I'm not. I think like a 21-year-old. I act like a 21-year-old in the places I go to. My lifestyle's like a 21-year-old's. I don't think that I am my birth certificate age. When I look at my birth certificate age, I just start laughing at it. I'm like, it's so silly because it's not who I am. And I'm just like, this is silly. I just put it and I just like, this is not me. It's not who I am. And I guess sometimes that's how, like people who are guys that think they should be, well, know that they're really a woman, or women that know they're really guy, that's how they feel. They look at their gender and they just kind of like, maybe they're not laughing at themselves like I laugh at myself with my birth certificate age, but they'll be looking thinking, God, this just isn't me in my body. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that about my birth certificate age. I just look at it and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not this person. Obviously with years of experience I am, but I just look at it and it doesn't look like me. It's not who I am. And I'm like, I'm 21 really. I've trained myself purposely to become 21. I am 21, and that's the way I think. And so when I look at something like that, it's like today I wrote my birth certificate on something. I ripped it up in the end. It was a survey. I thought, I'm not doing this. There's other reasons I didn't want to carry it on, and I just ripped it up. Actually, I did the whole thing, but I'm like, no, I'm not bothering. It's too much stress and hassle on people. When you fill something in, sometimes people expect you to fill more stuff in and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm like, to my mum, I'm like, I've got to put my birth certificate age. I looked at it and started laughing. I just can't believe that that's my birth certificate age. It's just crazy. I just don't even like looking at it. I'm like, this is not who I am. It really isn't. But it's like most people, they do, like they want normal lives. I don't want a normal relationship. I don't want a normal life. I've had that type of life in the past. I'd be bored. I have actually been engaged in the past as well, but I wouldn't do it again because I just don't like that. I don't like the life. If you go to work, you come home and you watch TV and go to bed and just live a normal, average, boring life. To me, sorry to everyone who lives life like that. But I just can't do that. Some people, that's all they want. They want someone to just come home, play video games, cuddle up with and watch Netflix, and I respect people, whatever they want to do in their life, but I couldn't be like that. I would be bored, rigid, just having that type of life. There would be no self-growth, no personal development in that, no improving my life, no leaving a legacy for someone who, after I'm gone, no trying to help change the world where asexuality is concerned if I was just sat doing those type of things. I'm here for different purposes in my life. I'm not here to just be a pawn in the game of life. I'm here to be like the king or the queen and to like move my butt, do you know what I mean? Or even a knight and jump over people. But I'm here to like be a leader, not a follower. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think like when people have just sex, marriage and kids, I just think they're like followers. You can have that life either, Sam. Yeah, me and you are very similar on our needs, wants, aren't we? Apart from I want more snogging from a guy than you do. But yeah, it's really good that you're very similar to me because you're like, you work till the early hours of the morning. You've got space era. You know that you're doing important work for our future. And you don't want that type of life as well. You just sit there. I mean, my ideal type of relationship is where the guy lives near me, but not with me. We meet up for dates and chats and, like in-depth conversations and talk about things. And in between, we spend time messaging each other and, like obviously do our own thing, but keeping in contact. But then like having, like couple of days a week with each other in person. But if they're going to be the type of guy that wants to go home and play video games, that's okay, but they can go back to their place and do it. I don't want them coming over mine watching sport and putting the telly on watching sport. I don't want them coming over like playing video games in my home. It's like, my home's my home. I'm a sports-free zone in my home. I'm not interested in playing video. If I ever wanted to play video games with them, maybe they can bring it over for a little bit, like half an hour. I might agree to play with them or something, too, because, you know, if they really want a game that I like a racing car game or something, that maybe. But I would be bored if I did much of that. You know, I'm not interested in that type of thing. I hate sport. I can't stand it. I'm a sports-free zone. My ex, so he used to like video game all the time. He used to like watching football, and then he came to do it in my thanks for the thumbs up. He came to do, you know, used to do stuff like that in my home, and I'd just be so bored. Like, I'd rather have a couple of quality days with the person where I'm actually with them, talking about them, discussing life, world, planet, universe, going out, having a nice time with them. And then if they want to do stuff like video games and watch sport, go back to your own and do it. I don't need to see that. I'm not interested. It bores me to tears. If you're going to sit in my home watching sport, I'm going to be building a website, and I don't need you here to do that when I'm trying to build it myself and can't concentrate with the sport on in the background. You know, go to your own place and do that. I don't want to be doing that, you know. I'd rather be blogging or vlogging like with you, or you know, like creating a course. I can't do that if I've got someone here that's busy watching sport, playing games in the back. It's like, you've got your own place, go. That's why I don't want to live with the guy, you know. I don't know, like, obviously in the future, I think with asexuals, you've really got to think about your future as well. You've got to think really deep and hard, like, you know, like, for example, you know, like, my parents won't be around forever. I wish they were. You know, this place is not my own. I rent it. I've been here for 15 years and I love it. But obviously, if anything happens to the landlord, then if anyone happens, Mr. Virgin, this show rules. Oh, thank you. I agree. Thank you. But where was I saying, you know, that this is not my home, I rent. So if anything happens to the landlord, it will likely be sold. So, you know, as an asexual person, I've got to be thinking, you know, like, if I don't get a guy because I don't want sex, don't want marriage, don't want kids, I don't get a relationship, I will think to myself in my future, what's my future going to look like? Am I going to live on my own, really on my own? Because at the moment, I've got the security of living on my own in the flat in the middle of a house. So I do have other people that are very good working people, not noisy people, not druggy people, not coming in drunk. They're very sensible working people in the rest of the house. Right, they're respectful. We respect each other, right? And I live at the back of the place, which is amazing because it's actually quite quiet, even though I like noise. But I can make some noise in here, and they can't hear me because their places are back the other way, behind this computer screen. You can't tell. And so, you know, so I really love where I live. It's a blessing, you know. But I know that that's not going to be forever, and so I have to be thinking, you know, do I want to completely live on my own in a house where there's less security? In terms of like safety, sometimes, you know, when you're on your own house, obviously if something happens to you, you're on the floor collapsing, no one's there. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of safety things. So would that be a scenario that I'm happy to completely live on my own, or would I like to more like section a house off so that I maybe had a lodger that I trusted, like a friend or something, that they could have half the house with an ensuite in their place or whatever. You know, they could have like half the house, they have their own toilet and bathroom and shower, and I have the other top part of the house, I have a bathroom, shower and toilet to myself, like section it off like that. Or, you know, how would that work? You know, that would be quite good if you had two different levels where you both had your own space and own place, like two separate flats but in the same house. Something like that, do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, I do like the setup here. I got a lot of security here. I've got people around me, good people. That's very different to old places I lived in my city that are very dangerous. They're, you know, they had druggies, they had people smacking each other like couples, while guys smacking women around usually, you know, in their rooms. You know, I've been in places with horrible people, which I won't go into all the places I've been with the nasty people. But I'm in such a good place now. I love living here. It's very beautiful. The air is very beautiful. The people are beautiful. Everything's good, you know. And so I think you have to really think as an asexual person, you know, if you can't find a asexual compatible for a relationship to be an actual relationship with, and you can't find a sexual person to be in a relationship with, you really got to think about your future, like what you're actually going to do long term. Do you know what I mean? And so that is something I think about a bit more lately than I used to. And obviously, if sexuals are really not understanding, like I don't want sex, marriage, and kids, I can't really live with sexual guys because they won't understand, like obviously I'd probably fancy the sexual person, they'd probably fancy me, but I can't be in a relationship without sex. Do you know what I mean? And so really it's better to have asexual friends in living in the same house or near me. Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of stuff that I think about a lot lately, because it's like I think it's very hard for asexuals because like you do kind of need friends at least around you, you know what I mean, for safety and that care about you till you're like old. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone eventually gets old and is not here anymore. Do you know what I mean? You have to kind of be thinking all these type of things like what's best for your safety, what's best for your mind, what's best for your health. Obviously, like at the moment, I'm very, I could go where the heck I want. I'm young, free, single. I could move if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So, I might have a job come up somewhere completely different and then move if I wanted to. But I can't see me moving for a very long time because I adore it here. But you have to kind of like weigh up all the options. But when you have sexuals that just really don't understand, you don't want sex, you don't want marriage, you don't want kids, it's kind of like you feel like you're bashing your head against the brick wall there, And I think there are a very, very few, very, very minor, few limited sexuals that can live in a happy, healthy relationship without sex ever and stay monogamous. I think there's a very few people that can do that. Obviously, some asexuals don't mind being in a polyamorous relationship, but I think there's still a lot of us still want monogamy, and so it's very difficult when sexuals are not really understanding. They just like, it's almost like they're telling you the opposite of what you want, that you are, and no one has the right to dictate to you who you are. Do you know what I mean? You are who you are, and if they don't believe that you don't want sex, marriage, or kids, or if they just think it's temporarily, you're just being a good girl as they see me sometimes, it's not, and you have to explain that. If they won't listen, just part ways. You don't want to be struggling or stressing in any type of relationship. I mean, yes, if a person who's, for example, heterosexual, really, really interested in you, or homosexual, or whatever sexuality, but if they're, a sexual person's interested in you, that's great. But even if they've shown interest, if they're not understanding you and they're not trying to understand you and they're not asking you more and more questions about your sexuality, they're just kind of like roadblocking you or not, agreeing or not accepting, then it's no good. I mean, you might get some sexuals go, well, I don't agree with it, but fair enough. And it's like, no, it's not a case of where you agree with it or not. It's a case of something you are, like, just like they're heterosexual, if we're talking about heterosexuals, or it could be homosexuals, any type of sexuals, just as they're sexuals, we have as much right and entitlement to have our own sexual orientation that is asexuality, and we should get the same respect that they do for their sexuality. Do you know what I mean? It's not a case of like this guy tonight putting about, oh, you have your religion. It's nothing to do with religion. It's nothing to do with abstaining, like for the sake of abstaining. It's not to do with celibacy. It's a sexual orientation that's lack of sexual attraction. So in other words, I don't look at a guy and think I need sex or I want sex with you. I never look at a guy and think that. I don't have that. I wasn't consciously aware of this years ago, but now I'm consciously aware of it. It's kind of weird. It kind of feels a bit empty sometimes. It feels a bit like they're experiencing something you're not experiencing. It kind of feels like you're disassociated in some way from them. Like, for example, when I was kissing the guy recently at the club, I wasn't feeling any arousal in my body whatsoever, which I can actually get through kissing often, but I didn't feel any arousal, no sexual attraction, nothing. And it's kind of like a very weird experience. It's kind of like they're experiencing something that you're not, and it's kind of like this, a bit like emptiness and void, but not in the sense that I just thought, well, I need to just carry on enjoying the kissing because I do like the act of kissing. But I was more aware of it this time. I was more aware of the fact that I'm not roused, I'm not sexually attracted to you, but I do think you're aesthetically attractive and romantically I'm attracted to you as well. But it's just like very weird when you actually in the moment thinking consciously about the fact No doubt, no mean no. Yes, Mr. Virgin. No doubt, no does mean no. Exactly. And I think if anyone is a virgin, I did a video on this a long time ago, but I think that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong in being a virgin. I think it's good if you've kept that for yourself, you know? I think it's really good. I think it's something to be very, very proud of. And I think more people should be proud of being virgins, you know? Instead, people are like at school, they're like, oh, when have you lost your virginity? Like, isn't it time? Hurry up type thing. That's just sends a complete wrong message out to the youth of today and to people in general. It's basically saying all your worth is whether you've had sex or not and how much of it you've had. That's not, you know, like, that's not your worth at all. You know, love is a completely different thing to sex. Like one guy was like, oh, what's the difference? I'm like, well, love is like a connection. It's like something you feel for someone. You know, it's like the deepness in your soul. It's like the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. You don't want to be without them in your life. You can't picture your life without them. Do you know what I mean? And it's a feeling of connection, of soulmate, of deep love, of wanting to. In a lot of cases, like not all, because some asexuals are touch adverse, but it's kind of like you want to show your affection. You want to kiss them and cuddle them and hold hands and maybe more with them. Do you see what I mean? And like sex, but that's, you know, the love zone is first, the physicality is like last in the love scenario, you know. The love, you know, it's got nothing to do with the actual physical touching, just the touching might come from the fact that you love them. But the love is there regardless. So, you know, in the times when you're not touching at all, you'll still feel that love for them wherever you are in the world. Do you see what I mean? It's a feeling that you hold within your side, your spirit and your being and your soul. Whereas sex is just a physical act that you do or you don't do. And some may associate with sex because I might be, well, I love you and I want to share my body with you because I love you that much and I want us to physically combined together in that intercourse way. Do you know what I mean? But that's not love. You can love a person very much so without ever having sex with them. Do you know what I mean? I mean, lots of teenagers that are underage, if they abide by the legal laws, they still can love each other even from a very young age. I mean, some people will go, oh, it's puppy love, it's teenage love. But there are some people who are that young that fall in love that stay with their partner forever. They even get married to them. I know people like this. They've met at like 15 years of age and they're getting married or got married. You know, 15, 17 years of age. It's not like puppy love. It's like love that lasts a lifetime. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I often find that people who, particularly like, because I like Indian guys, as you know, particularly Indian guys, they got this thing where their first love of their life, the one who's kind of got their heart, that's it. They just love them implicitly. They can't live with, you know, like even 15 years on, or when they're much more adult, they're like still pining after this person that decided that that person, that they weren't right for them. And it's like they still keep going back to that same person like a broken record. It's like, move on. Do you know what I mean? Move on. Unless you completely close that door, you can't open your heart fully to someone else. Do you know what I mean? And so it's very important that you do move on. And they tend to be their heart always tends to be the first person they ever fell in love with. Which is why I really need an Indian guy to fall in love with me first rather than anyone else. Because that'd be great, because I think he'd be dedicated with or without sex, most likely. Because some of them, they're just so dedicated to the love experience, like addicted to their first love experience. So yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, I think sexuals do, you know, they just don't listen a lot of the time because they don't want to hear our truth. They don't want to hear someone speak about something that's completely different to them, that confuses them, and they because they have never heard of people not wanting sex before, they think that you must just mean it temporarily because you're being good in that way and not wanting sex straight away or to jump into bed with them straight away. But that's not what we mean. If we say no, we don't want sex, it means no. And you know, the danger obviously with those type of people is, you know, like just imagine if you're with them in person, you know, they'd be trying to get you to have sex all the time because they wouldn't believe you or trying to cut your boundaries. And I had a guy that I did like go on a date with. Oh my God, he was so bad. And it was horrible. It was a long time ago that I did a video about him on this channel, and he didn't believe me. Like later on, he said, "Oh, I didn't actually believe you were asexual. You know, this being asexual or whatever. He's like, I thought you made it up. I didn't think you were being serious. And it's like, how can I not be serious? I told him I've got a book out, you know, I told him about this book and I said about it, you know. It's like, if we didn't exist, if it wasn't true, why would I have written a book? Why would people be buying it? It just wouldn't make logical sense. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, he did like grab hold of me when I said I didn't want to kiss him. He grabbed hold of my arms, which is like assault. Do you know what I mean? It's horrible. He lives near me as well. I see him regularly. He lives really a few doors up from me, which is a bit annoying. I usually don't speak to him if I can help it. But the other day it was night, it was dark at the supermarket. He did actually stand back for me to go past, and I said thanks, because usually he's really rude, or he never says sorry. When he grabbed hold of me, he sent me a text going, "Oh, have you stopped basically are you in a better mood now?" He said something like that. And I was just like, this guy's a narcissistic guy. He just thinks women love him. He's done nothing wrong. And it's fine to assault a woman and then think she's just in a mood with him. Do you know what I mean? And pin it on the woman that she's got some problem. Because that's what he tried to do. He's like, "Oh, you're overreacting." I said, "You shouldn't have grabbed me. I told you, like 3 times I told him I don't want to be kissed. I said, you shouldn't have grabbed me, you know? You shouldn't be doing stuff like that." And he's like, "Oh, stop making a big deal. It's nothing." Do you know what I mean? They're not narcissistic, those guys, but I don't, you know, like, I know that he still looks at me a lot. Once I didn't realise who he was, and he came up and started talking to me. And then I'm like, "Oh, you're the guy that did that." I'm like, "Oh, no." But yeah, the only time I've actually spoke to him is recently when I said thanks, because he did actually step back to let me by, which he doesn't normally do, because he's normally like full of himself. I thought, "Oh, you're being polite, so I'll be polite to you." And it's a shame because he's actually foreign, but he's not really. He's too old for me, really, which I think was one of the reasons why I didn't even want to kiss him anyway. I just couldn't. He's just too old for me, you know. I think he's 42, he said, but he just looks old. And I just like, I'm not really into older guys, you know. I'm not really into guys in their 40s, it's 20s or early 30s, most, but usually 20s, you know. So I think you just like, you know, you have to understand that not everyone will accept your sexual orientation, but that doesn't mean they have the right to not accept it, if you know what I mean. Like, it is what it is. It's not non-negotiable. Do you know what I mean? It's not something they can negotiate. It's non-negotiable. So whatever they think, regardless, whatever their opinion is, you just say your asexuality is non-negotiable. You know, my sexuality, which is asexuality, is non-negotiable. Just like your heterosexuality or whatever sexuality, you know, like, that's non-negotiable. Because it's like, why should we even believe that people are meant to have sex? You know, everyone's conditioned. That's a conditioning from birth. It's not necessarily the truth fact. You know, other than to procreate, why does anyone actually need sex unless they want to procreate by natural means? Insert into insert. Why do they actually need sex? They don't. It's just conditioned into their brain. Conditioned. That's all it is from birth. And it's an evergreen cycle of conditioning. And because the majority of people do it, it just goes round in a circle. That parents have kids, they teach their kids that, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Really, we need to break that to say, hang on a minute, this isn't how it has to be. Children have a choice. You know, children shouldn't be thinking about that stuff anyway, but obviously they do have sex education, and some sex education, I believe, in schools now, which, you know, is all geared towards when you have sex. This is what you do. What about when you don't have sex? Peer pressure in society. Exactly. They should be taught, like, what happens when you don't want sex. They should be taught boundaries, but they're not. You know, they're not taught any boundaries. They're basically, this is what's expected of you. This is what you've got to do. And, you know, like, when you're asexual, you've come out that system. You're like, you can see the world in a different way that they can't see it. You know, it's like it's like they're robots on the conveyor belt. Sex, marriage, kids, sex, marriage, kids, work, sex, marriage, kids, work, sex, marriage, kids. You know, this is like the cycle that it is, basically, or sex, I should say, kids, work, marriage, you know, all that type of thing, or work, you know, like, you know what I mean. Basically, sex to make the person in the first place, and then everything else, you know. And it's just like a cycle. I feel free without sex. Yeah, so do I, Ray. I feel very free without sex. To start having sex again, for me, I'd be bored. I really would, because obviously I do think about, could I ever do that again with a sexual person? But I'd be so bored, because I don't experience any sexual attraction. I'm very consciously aware of that now. Like sometimes I don't even get aroused. And so it's like, what's the point in putting my body through that when I don't really feel anything? It's just like, and I don't want anyone. I definitely don't want kids. I don't want to get pregnant. That would be my worst nightmare ever, And I just like, I just can't be doing with all that again, I would have to feel like I was performing or for them or on them, because I wouldn't want that. It'd just be like a show or something, and I couldn't sustain that long term because I'd just be bored. I remember when I did have sex, and there was this one guy, and he was so good looking, so good looking. After 3 weeks, I was just so bored of having sex with him. I'm like, is this, like, he was cooking was great. In terms of looks, like I said, his looks were really hot, aesthetic looks I'm talking about, and everything in that way, and I would have conversations with him and eat with him. Everything was great like that. But the sex, I just like stick it in, guy. I just got so bored. I just couldn't do it. At 3 weeks, that was enough. I just couldn't be doing with it anymore. I'm like, I really can't be doing it, because I even split up and ended up getting back, I think, with him for a short time. But I think I was only with him for like 3 weeks in total, because he was like, he was going, and I was in the city, and he's like, oh, but I want sex. And I'm like, but why? He goes, because I like. And I'm like, oh, okay then. But I think I remember doing that for just a little bit longer, and I'm like, I just can't be doing with that. And I just phoned up, I think, and split up with him on the phone. I just couldn't be doing with it anymore. I just, you know what I mean? It's just too boring for me. I don't see the point. If you're not getting anything out of it, you don't enjoy it, it's not pleasurable, what's the point in doing it? Do you know what I mean? It's just pointless. It's like torturing yourself or something. It's like, like just forcing yourself to do something you don't like over and over again for the sake of it. You know what I mean? I just don't see more. Obviously, if you're an asexual that enjoys that type of thing and really loves every single minute of it and is really feeling great and elated or whatever you do, then go for gold. But my experience, like, nowadays, well, obviously I don't have experience nowadays, but the like back in, when was the last time the last time I had sex was 2011, but before I was in a long-term relationship with that person, but that's the last time I had it, and I don't want to go back to that type of life again. I think having that last long-term relationship, that was enough sex for me. I don't, that's like, I don't, after that I just couldn't do it anymore with anyone else, and I just like, I'm just, I just don't need it. I don't want it. I don't like it. And, and if sexuals don't understand that, then they're not going to be good to be in a relationship with. So you just have to, like, say, get a sexual person with you. That's what I usually do. I say, okay, but I don't want sex, so get a sexual person with you. There's tons of sexuals out there. Why are you basically talking to me? If I said I don't want sex and you want it, why carry on speaking to me? Because there's tons of girls out there, women, that will have sex quite easily with all their boobs flying around in these sexual dating groups. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if that's what you want, go for gold, but it's not what I want. I can't be doing with this normal life. It's just boring for me. I don't see any point in it. It's just like I said, it's like a conveyor belt. It's just really like a conveyor belt, and I don't want to be part of the conveyor belt. I've got off that. I don't want to go on that belt ever again. It's like, once you've got a different life and you've got a taste of a completely different life where you can just do what you want when you want, you can be up to the early hours of the morning, you can write to your heart's content, you can create pieces that are creative, you can conjure up new things in life, bring things to life that have never existed before. Do you know what I mean? That's to me what I live for. That's passion, that's excitement, that's thrilling, that's leaving a legacy. Coming home and just having food and watching TV, I'd just be bored rigid. I really would. And so, my advice to you, if you're dealing with sexuals, is take each of them on their own merits. Some of them are accepting, but just because they're accepting doesn't mean to say they're accepting to be in a relationship. Because I've had a situation where I found a guy that I'm interested in a relationship or dating. They've accepted my asexuality as is, but when it comes to being in a relationship with them, they don't believe that you're going to be like that with them, if you know what I mean. So this is a kind of a really weird one. It's like they've listened to what you said. They say, okay, I respect that. Then they kind of don't, because they kind of like U-turn as much as to say, I respect that, but obviously if you're in a relationship with me, we'll be having sex. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like they accept it, but they don't. They just U-turn on it. It's like, okay, you're like that, but we'll still have sex anyway. And it's like, no, actually be respectful of me and my choice is I don't want to have it. My asexuality is not a choice, my sexuality is not a choice, but I choose still not to have it, because I'm not an asexual that wants to have it just to please their partner, or that wants to, like, have it at all. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's really important to, like, differentiate between the sexuals that actually accept it and understand it and really understand that you are like that and you will live that truth and you will be who you want. So if they were in a relationship with you, that would literally mean, if you're saying no sex, it would literally mean no sex, not no sex, but with this, exception to the rule, or no sex, but, I expect you to have oral sex with me and stuff like that. Unless you decide that you want oral sex with them, just not penetrative sex. There are a few asexuals that are like that, but and it's up to you to decide that. But whatever you say, they've got to take you seriously and not just accept it as is, as you are now, but accept it if they were in a relationship with you, if they decide they want to continue pursuing a relationship with you after you've told them you don't want sex. Do you see what I mean? And you should be telling them that you don't want sex. Why beat around the bush? I mean, I kind of made my friend and her friend cringe a little bit today because I went to see that. I saw them in the morning. My best friend that's moved away came and seen me and our other friend in the city, and there was this foreign guy. So my best friend and then her friend, which is friends. I'm friends with them now as well because we're friends on Facebook and we do message each other a bit on there because she lives not far from me. Actually, she lives closer to me than my best friend does, and but we haven't seen each other on our own yet. So basically, there was this foreign guy that came up to her, my best friend's friend, and started talking to her. And he's like, "Oh, it's nice to see you." And she knew him, and he was really good looking because I like foreign guys. And the guy lives in my city, and he was so good looking. And after he'd gone, I said, "Oh, he's really good looking." And she goes, "Oh yeah, he likes older women." And I said, "Well, I like younger guys." She's like, "Ah," and I said, and so she messaged him on Facebook and said, "Oh yeah, oh, my friend with the blonde hair likes you." And he goes, "Oh, well, I don't mind," and says, "Oh, she likes younger guys or something." And he goes, "Oh, it doesn't matter about age, but I don't mind having a drink with her." And then I said to ask him if he smokes because I can't be with smoker. And she asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I do," because he is single on his profile. But yeah, I do. So I'm like, "Oh, it's no good for me then. No, I can't be with a smoker. I just can't." Because I love kissing still. And so anyway, and I said, "Yeah, anyway, I don't want sex." And they know this about me, but even though I don't want sex, they're still both staring at me as much to say, it's kind of like I say that I don't want sex, but it's like I'm just saying again, they just got this little surprise element about them when I say it, as in, okay, like, like, not as if they totally disbelieve me, because I know my best female friend, she's known for a long time I'm asexual, but it's kind of like, oh, I don't know how to explain it. It's a bit like, oh, well, that's how you are now. Fine. It's not like it's completely sunk in. That's what I have to say. It's not like it's completely sunk into their brain, if you understand what I mean. So it's kind of like they're accepting it, but they've not quite registered it. A deer in the headlights. I think, yes, Heather. I think that's the expression which would suit it very well, the situation. Thank you. It is a bit like, I mean, my best friend knows it, but it's like, I'm trying to explain to them that I need a foreign guy, because I said, even if, because obviously when this guy, I found out he smoked, it was no go. But before I knew that, I said, obviously, I don't want sex either, which I don't know if he'd be happy with that. And they're kind of looking like this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like a deer in the headlights, basically. You phrase that very well. So it's kind of like, just because some sexuals do accept it, don't think they may 100% accept it, because they may not actually understand. Because it's like, I've said to my friend before, I'm asexual, I don't like sex. And then she goes, "Well, I'm a bit like that, honey, because, I'm not all about the sex either. And I don't, like, don't have to be having that all the time. And sometimes I can do without it." And I'm thinking to myself, that's not what asexual means. Do you know what I mean? But it's no point in carrying on telling her, because I don't want to fall out friends with her. I've told her, like, I'm not interested in sex whatsoever. This is a sexual orientation. I've made it quite clear. But sometimes she'll be like, "Oh, well, it's kind of like brushed aside," or I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like she accepts it, but not fully, or she doesn't I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's such a weird concept to her. I think she's not asexual. But it's like when she's saying, "Oh, you know, I sometimes in the past, not now, but sometimes in the past," she's like, "Oh, I'm probably a little bit like that myself." Like, but she loves sex. She's had sex with loads of guys. She loves it. So she's not asexual. Do you know what I mean? But it's really hard when someone keeps telling you stuff like that every so often, because you're kind of like thinking, "Hang on a minute, are you saying you're asexual?" And then I'm thinking, reality is no, she's not asexual, Sandra. She no, she goes and she has sex with guys because she loves sex in and of itself sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And not like that now. She's settled down with a partner now. But do you know what I mean? It's like the way she says it. So like, you know what I mean? It kind of like puts in my head. I'm like thinking, no, she's not asexual, Sandra. You know, she can meet a guy and then go and have sex with him. She's not asexual. She likes sex. She loves, like I know she loves, like not just the sex and other things, but I don't think she, it's kind of like sometimes she doesn't like it being called a sexual orientation. It's kind of like she'll kind of like, instead of me, I'll be like, well, that is my sexual orientation. It's kind of like, and carries on with that. It's kind of like hands up, okay, like, and let's carry on with life now. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like she's not kind of getting it fully, but she's my best friend. I've been friends with her for over 7 years now, and I will always maintain my sexual orientations asexual. I always talk about it, whether she likes it or not. She's better now than she used to be, because she used to get really uncomfortable at the mention of it. She didn't even like me talking about it at all. She used to change the subject every single time and couldn't let me say anything about it, really. And I just used to carry it on because I'm like, well, I am who I am, and you need to get used to it. And I think that's the thing, if you don't continue being who you actually are, people kind of like try and change you to their way or try and silence you for being who you are, and you don't want that in life. It's not your problem if another person doesn't agree with your sexual orientation. It's really not up for debates. It's not a thing you can agree with or disagree. It is what it is. You are who you are. Do you know what I mean? If they don't believe you, they don't believe you. That's not your problem. It's their problem. You know what I mean? You carry on being you. You shouldn't change for anyone. You should still be who you are. You should still say, well, that's my sexual orientation. If they don't like it, they can lump it, to be quite honest with you, because you have to accept that they're heterosexual or whatever sexual orientation they are. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's like invalidating, it's like, well, if you want to invalidate my sexual orientation, let's invalidate yours, shall we? Why should you be heterosexual? What makes you heterosexual? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you know you're heterosexual? Do you know what I mean? We get the classic from sexuals saying, oh, how do you know you're asexual? You know what I mean? It's like, well, how do you know you're like, sometimes actually, how do you know you're heterosexual? How do you know that you're meant to be like that? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, if I don't like sex, I don't like sex. It's like saying to a gay guy, go and be with a woman. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some gay guys are with women, so that doesn't quite work out, but they're covering up. But do you know what I'm saying? It's like trying to push you to be something you're not. So always speak your truth, always live in truth. The way you get sexuals to accept you for who you are is continue being who you are. The worst thing you can possibly do is be like a little, I don't know, like snail in its shell, and you just retract into your shell because people have said stuff to you that, oh, I don't agree with that, or I don't like it, and they want to make you something smaller and withheld into yourself, and because they don't want you to shine your light, because it disrupts their pattern of thinking, their what they've been taught for years, and they can't do it. It's like having a meltdown in their head. But you just carry on. You carry on being your beautiful snail, feeling your way along in life with your beautiful shell of protection, which is yourself. You protect yourself by saying, I am this. You stand strong and proud. You're like, this is who I am. This is who I was born to be. This is me. If you don't like it, that's fine. But it's not my problem. It's not my problem if you can't accept it. It's not my problem if you can't like it. The only time it becomes a problem is if you want a relationship with someone and they don't accept who you are, and they try and take advantage of you and try and force you to do things you don't want to do. But if you don't have don't ever be with a person who doesn't accept your asexuality, and really accept it and honor it. You know what I mean? And if they're in a relationship, they live the type of relationship that you've agreed to with them. And if that's, you've said no sex and they've said, okay, I'll be with you, for example, in a monogamous relationship without sex, they need to withhold that end of their bargain. end of the, their like contract with you, if you like, and if they're not going to do that, if they're going to turn around and say, well, I want sex now, obviously they never believed you in the first place. They never understood it, or they never believed. That's why it's really important that you stand your ground and be really, really firm and strong. So, that guy I said a while ago, he didn't even believe I was really asexual. But that wasn't my problem. The only problem it became is when I, was trying to grab hold of me to kiss me, and he shouldn't have been doing that. Do you know what I mean? Because clearly he didn't believe what I was saying was true. But, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You don't be with someone like that. You avoid being with someone like that. Leave them be. Don't speak to them. Just cut off from them. Like I said, this guy just lives really near me. So I see him regularly, probably most weeks, actually, which is a bit of a pain. But no, I don't usually speak to him. I said thanks once the other day. I thought I'll be polite because he's been polite to me, but that was it. But a lot of the time I just ignore him. So yeah, anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight. If you've got any more comments, queries, questions, please, after this live stream's over, put them down below. If you want to tell a story, you want to say anything to me, you've got any sort of videos that you want me to do, please post in the comments down below. Thank you so much for being on this live stream. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the great big subscribe button right here, right now, and hit that bell icon, because then you'll get notified of every time I go live. Like now, post a new video. I tend to go live every night. Like today, I've been out. Like I got up really early. I had 4 hours sleep. And so I wasn't sure I could do the live stream. And my voice keeps going sometimes as well. Like it was going really croaky earlier because I had a respiratory infection not long ago and I completely lost my voice. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen again. But I want to thank everyone for being in the stream. That's Ray and Heather and Sam and Mr. Virgin. Thank you so much. If you haven't already got Asexual Perspectives, please grab a copy. The link is down below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it and share it with anyone. Share this channel. Just say, hey, there's a great asexual channel. Think you should take a look at it. Share the link to the channel. Get some more people to be part of the community, because I notice this community is getting bigger and bigger, and that's what I love. Love interacting with you all. So thanks so much, Heather, Ray, Sam and Mr. Virgin, everyone else that's watching. Lots of love to all. And embrace your quirky and each other. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream. And stay being asexual, beautiful you. Always, always be you. All right, lots of love. Take care. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. Night, morning. Take care. Bye. Lots of love.